You are now tuned in to the On Track with All My People podcast with your hosts, Amber Peters, A.K.A. Mizz P.
And Daitwan David, A.K.A. Dr. Change, ain't nothing strange about it, A.K.A. Mr. David, A.K.A. Ayo Mizz.
Oh my God, Daitwan, can we just start the show already? Welcome back, everybody. It's your girl, Mizz P here, and I'm here with who?
Dr. Change, ain't nothing strange about it.
We miss you guys so very much. Listen, we had to take a little break and get our minds right and
Much
come
needed.
back stronger because
Yes.
we got a lot planned for you guys this time. And also we had a heart to heart about like how our show was going and like what we wanted to contribute, right? So we're going to be doing things a little bit different this season. So we got 3 things that are coming, right? So we have Day in the Life, where you're going to be able to catch us on site. You're going to be able to see us like actually in action doing the thing. We got Diary of a Post Secondary Practitioner, which is literally just our conversations between homies doing the work, right? Sometimes we got to get a little candid. We gotta we gotta air things out, and that will give us a chance to do that. And then we'll have our regular On Track with All My People, which is going to tackle a specific topic, and we'll let you know what those topics are ahead of time. So, yeah.
And on top of that, one of the things, still kind of following some of the models that we did last year, we want to make sure that there's a space for practitioners, our peers, to be able to be celebrated for the work that they're doing.
Absolutely.
There oftentimes aren't enough public-facing spaces for the individuals that are doing phenomenal work. We know that a lot of our work is probably centered around New York City, but we're going to be expanding to make sure that we can just like engage the larger community on who's doing really phenomenal things. So shout outs to that. So we started off with that intro. We're welcoming back. I want to make sure we want to build connections with y'all more intently. And also Amber and I embrace each other lovingly and butt heads lovingly. And so I want to make sure that we can build rapport. I'm reflecting on last week, which was a lot for me. And I want to do kind of a check-in question. And maybe this is something that we'll ask our audience to respond to this week. I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to give you a chance to think about it. I'm going to go first. But I want us to kind of think about a childhood memory that you never want to forget. And I have one. And it's interesting because I have been doing a lot of reflective activities for the changes that are happening in my life. I'm like, hey, I need to slow down for a second. I need to reflect on my journey. What have I experienced? And it's been a really, really heartfelt, sentimental, and it's like really thought-provoking thing for me. So one of the memory that I will not want to forget is, I don't know if I believe it's for my brother's birthday or Christmas. They were like 3 days apart. My aunt, shout outs to Aunt Pearl, sent him a purple boombox. And that purple boombox was able to record. And at that time, it was such one of like the flyest things. I know this is where the young people say, oh, that's 1900 technology or whatever. Wow, disrespectful, right?
Always.
Purple boombox, we were able to record. So we had cassettes. We was able to get a couple, and we would actually like record ourselves like doing the show. It was all improv and foolishness or whatever the case may be. I wish I had those tapes still. But what it did led me to believe is like, hey, I had a passion and interest of wanting to be involved in media in some way, shape, or form. I wasn't sure what that was. When I was in college, I had an opportunity to do and host a radio show. I worked for a media organization a couple of years after I got out of college. And then now I have an opportunity. We have this pod that we've been running for 3 years now. And I think that's pretty dope. I wouldn't want to forget the purple boombox because it kind of sparked a bunch of things for me.
This life.
On track.
Legitimately.
100%. What is yours? What are you trying not to forget? Childhood memory.
So it's funny. Like, I don't ever forget it, but like I see how it's connected to now. Right. So like when I was about, I can't remember if it was like 2nd or 3rd grade, I entered a book competition and I did win and got recognized for it. And so I wrote the book. It was called The Crazy Teacher. And it was like the Magic School Bus, but like my reimagining of the Magic School Bus. Like as if I was in the episode, like I created my own story around like what I thought would happen.
So it was like The Wiz.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, like
okay,
the black
okay,
version of,
okay.
yeah,
Okay, I see
yeah,
you.
that's
I
the
see
one.
you.
Yeah, I like that. And so like seeing it come full circle, right? Like being actual author now, right? And having like 3 workbooks for sale, right? That people use and actually like get information out of. It's not like a fairy tale story, it's the real stuff, but like that kind of sparked me actually wanting to write something to leave behind. So yeah, I ain't never gonna
No.
forget that.
Shout outs to you and that story. And I know before we kind of talked about it offline that you mentioned like you had a friend that I illustrated for you in that book. And I wonder if
I
that
wonder
particular
what they're
friend,
doing now.
if they're still
I'd
doing
be
things like
scared to
that.
ask questions though, because
I get it.
sometimes, like, honestly, like, I'll be 40, right? But there's people who still haven't made it, right? Like, there's people that, passed away, unfortunately. So, like, I learned to stop asking questions because I'm like, I don't want to be disappointed. They be like, oh, yeah, they died 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'll be
Think
like,
about
you know
that.
what? I hope they're well wherever they are.
Yeah.
But,
It's I think it's tough at, being fortunate to have made it to, this particular age. I know
mm-mm.
the silvers and the grays may be confusing some people, but I'm just 3 years older than you. So in thinking about that though, I'm blessed. There was a lot of reflection for me last week, and last week I felt like I was in a magic school bus, um, because I was all over the place, for me in terms of not necessarily location wise, but in terms of like experiences and journeys. So one of the things I had an opportunity to do, which was super dope, was shout outs to Professor Simon, Shari Simon, who invited me to guest lecture for her class, on being able to kind of think about how college access is a civil right. I was able to kind of put something together. I talked to her about like an aspiration I've held for a long time. I've TA before, I've guest lectured before, and I was like, hey, I just want to pick your brain. And she was like, I'm going to provide you this opportunity. So let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. So shout outs to her for setting it up.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
Professor Simon.
Yeah. So it was a dope conversation, and I really enjoyed being able to kind of help the young people that were in that space, the college students, kind of reimagine their thought process about education and college access, right? Like education, we understand has been contentious, but it's civil right. But college access should be viewed in that very same way, like
Hmm.
affording people the opportunity, especially with programs like Seek, and thinking about like the recent affirmative action ruling. It was very important for us to kind of have that conversation, and they're going to
Oh
have
yeah.
continued conversations about it. So shout outs to that. So that's one thing that I felt like Magic School Bus. I had to really make things happen to be prepared for that. What was something that you did that you felt like was part of this diary? What are you trying to make sure is marked for this particular episode?
I wanna like just like think about, I guess, reflect on the last couple of weeks. Like I am trying to get my head wrapped around getting back into these schools and
Hmm.
just like also realizing that there are a lot of people who are new to this work, and just
Okay.
trying to figure out ways that we can work together to really like streamline the process. The one thing that has always been like on my mind is like there's no standardized method, right? When we look at the regions, you teach
Yeah.
this, then this, then this, then this,
Yep.
and then you take the test. And this field is like all over the place, and everybody's kind of doing it how they doing it, right? A lot of times it's like playing catch up. Towards the, like, middle of the year, it's like, oh my gosh, we just gotta, right, or triage in the situation, right?
Right. Right.
So I'm like trying to like wrap my head around processes to support those folks who are like newer, because I have 2 schools that have new counselors. So I'm just trying to like wrap my head around how do you make it easy for somebody stepping into this work to do what they do, be the hero, um, and like feel good about what they did, right? And not like feel like, oh my God, what I could have did this and I could have did that, right? Like
Right.
just being able to like walk into it, do it confidently, and like move forward. So that's what I'm reflecting on. It's just like, because I know this year gonna have a lot for us, and we stay tuned for our FAFSA conversation. It was the on track with all my people we have a whole show around that because, Lord God, yeah,
For real. And so
I'll see.
two things. Two things. Y'all didn't know that during the break, our girl went viral for
Yeah,
her one of her FAFSA videos. Like Amber has been plugging away at trying to enrich herself and provide like really thought provoking, engaging, and critical content. And one of her videos like hit numbers.
yeah,
Um,
we are at almost like 500,000 views so far.
500,000, close to that. I mean,
Over that.
so let's think about this now. Amber has, and I joked about this before. There were times when I might have been one of maybe 6 or 7 people that liked a video that I thought was super dope of hers or whatever.
And
And
you was
yeah, and
like,
like and she was getting frustrated because like in this space, it's sort of like you're not doing it for the likes, you're doing it for the reach because you want to make sure information is getting out there. So it's hard to kind of determine if it is reaching the people that it needs to reach. If you're not getting a response back, like I know G has certain tools that allow you to see who is engaging or whatever, but I think it's good to be able to see like, hey, this is the thing. There's so many things that are going viral. Let's do the the
like
Ms. P challenge.
FAFSA. Like I would
Let's do the
never have
Ms.
thought.
P challenge, right? Like
Never have thought.
so there. So you have that. But another thing is last year, I'm possibly 3 years in and working with someone who 2 years ago was just a new college counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot because I think one of the things that's happening is in previous curriculum that college counselors had to go through or school counselors had to go through. Um, by the way, you're not allowed to say the G word. Um,
School counselors.
School counselors, right? So I'm just continuing to make sure that I have it right. So school counselors in their college access wasn't really in their curriculum like that.
No.
But previously, well, within
But you
recent
still was
years, it's
expected
been
to do
added.
it. Ain't that crazy?
Still
Like you still
expected to do it.
expected to do something that nobody taught you how to do.
100%. And so for her, she was fortunate to have a professor that did focus on that. So she was able to learn some really phenomenal things. And I think she was a part of trainings. But there's still a lot that needed to be learned. So I think that she would not think, I know she was super grateful for the support that I brought, not just in meeting the outcomes of the student, but meeting the outcomes of her development. And I think that,
Yeah,
that would be something for you just to be like, hey, yeah, we do have these deadlines, but let me pause for a second so that you're able to process what this really means and looks like for you beyond just me being here. And I
exactly.
think that was helpful.
Exactly.
So yeah, so you had that. You also engaged in some training last week that I wasn't able to attend to, and we had like a divide and conquer strategy. You went to a training. What was the training? What were your thoughts? What did you get from it? And what should I know from that training?
So the first thing that I went to that was TAP. So HESC has a counselor um, resource kind of like website, and they provide information sessions. We'll drop that below so you guys can sign up because it was very good. And so they were pretty much like talking about the new changes to the FAFSA and just outlining what they know, which is not much. We're going to talk about that on the next episode. Okay. I'm going to
Yep.
keep plugging that episode because y'all need to see the foolery. Okay.
Mhm.
So there's a lot that they don't know, and they were continuously saying that there's a lot that they don't know. What they did share with us is that there is going to be a college application month. And you can get materials from them. So they'll send you like stickers and cards and things like that for you to share with your students. And just talking about, what needs to be done to get kids to college. So they talked about that. The last part of it was just literally talking about like we can't tell y'all nothing because we ain't got nothing from FAFSA.
Right.
But what they did say that I thought was something I really wanted to share with you guys was they said, although they're waiting for guidance from FAFSA, right? Their application is going to open at the normal time. However, right,
Mhm.
they would prefer that application is done after the FAFSA is done, which makes sense, right? Because we've never done it where we did the tap first and then work backwards.
For sure.
The FAFSA pulls data. Like if you do the FAFSA first, the TAP will pull data from the FAFSA. So it is recommended to still do it that way, even though the application is opening later this year. So the application for FAFSA is opening in December, but the TAP application will still open in October because that's when they have it set for every year. So still go through the FAFSA route, do FAFSA, then do the other part of the application, is what they're saying. So that
So
was
let me
pretty
ask
cool.
you, really,
Hmm.
I'm curious. Can they circumvent the traditional process? Like, can they now go on to tap and just be like, "Hey, I'm just going to put this information here"?
So what they're saying, they said that it's possible to do the application, but of course you'll be like coming completely from scratch because there will be nothing pulled in, right? Unless
Okay,
you've done the application before, right? So like if you're a college student and you've done an application before, right? Like that data can be pulled in because you already did the process before. But a
right.
brand new student going through the process for the first time, they'll literally be building everything from scratch. They'll have to put in all their data like by hand. But what they're saying is it doesn't really make sense until the FAFSA is done because everything goes based off of what FAFSA is saying. So even though the application will be open, it's still advised to go FAFSA then TAP. You could do it TAP first, but it's not going to be the best way to do it.
I I for sure, in whatever schools I'm supporting, I'm going to advise against it because for the simple fact of I want to make sure that when young people are doing tap, they will recognize that it is typically going to be a significantly shorter process. Like tap, if you know what you're doing, 10 minutes tops. But like just have certain documentation like the IT 201, just have your parents documentation of what they need to verify for electronic signature, answer a couple of questions, check, 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 and you're done. And you'll probably have to go back later to like update the school code or whatever, but that's fine. But that's the selling point for me for when I'm doing tap. And if they have to do tap first, run into barriers or issues, then have to do faster, then get frustrated. Yeah, I want to kind of stick with the
And
traditional
it
way.
just feels like it would be a mess, right? Like and we don't need any more messes. Like
Not
I
at all.
said, y'all look out for the next episode, okay?
Coming
We
through.
don't need any more messes this year.
Not at
So
all.
yeah, faster
So
first, then tap.
that's the first thing tap. We did divide and conquer. So I did hold up my end of the bargain and I attended a virtual session that Sandy Jimenez sent out on our crafting
Shout out
culture
to
statement.
Sandy.
Shout out to Sandy. I cannot remember the name, and I'm hoping that by the time we put this out, that I do get the name of the actual woman that facilitated a large portion of the training. But it was really, really informative. It was helpful to me. We had an opportunity to kind of think about the importance of personal statements moving into this new era post what happened with affirmative action and like how that's going to be weighted more. And so one of the things we talked about is like, hey, there is an understanding that students are going to have to be able to better demonstrate their writing ability, but also be able to kind of showcase themselves, their stories in a way that their transcript does not. That is the same. So an exercise that we did, which was like really super dope, was the woman that was facilitating had us look at two like paragraphs from two different personal statements, and we had to figure out which one was written by AI and which one was written by a student. And
I'm jealous.
I
I'm
want
mad
to
I
tell
missed
you of
that.
like how dumbfounded because it was hard to tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the AI, and it's like it's so phenomenal to see how the AI is putting certain things together. But I think that in some ways like the small imperfections that is connected to somebody's personal being or writing style helps to give it character for me in some ways. Like
Yeah.
why did you choose that word choice and structure, whatever? Because like the AI, it seemed like so personal, but it also seemed like, yo, this is almost perfect. Like who wrote
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
This is super, but it was hard to kind of differentiate between the two because the other one was well written as well. And so I think the there was the thought and the process of what are the most ethical and useful ways not to just disregard AI, but leverage it better. And I know you've
Yeah.
talked about openly the ways in which you've used AI to support certain aspects of what you're writing and what you're doing and what you're producing for your brand. In particular, like just blurbs or whatever the case may be. So I think that we are possibly going to have to come to grips with how can we utilize it more ethically.
I literally did a video about that this morning. I literally did a video because you know what? There were some colleges who came out and said that like, they don't want no AI produced essays, right?
Yeah.
So like the idea here is like you said, is using it responsibly. If you're stuck on something, right, like you just need some inspiration for some content that's part of it, it's not your full story, but it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm having trouble like making this paragraph sound good. You can use AI for that, right? Because you're also giving it details about you, right? You should actually give it like a bit of information about you so it can write about you versus them concocting some random story that could be
Mm.
connected to any child, right? So like there's ways to use it effectively that is not gonna like um get you flagged, but our kids don't do the right thing, they do the easy thing, right? I could get an essay written for me in 30 seconds and be done with this whole process,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I ain't got to think about it. I ain't got AI me, please, right? But I want, my thing is like, the one thing that I'm going to be stressing to students is like, the person that's going to show up on that campus needs to also show up in that paper because that's who they're giving a spot. They're not giving AI a spot, they're giving you a spot. So like helping them to kind of like get into their details so that they can share who they are so people know who they are when they get on campus. So
So that's true. I'll say this: whoever were like the first people exposed to AI, I know they made out like a robber in the night. They got away with a lot. Now they probably got to be like, oh, I got to ease up now and do something else. But they got away with a lot of stuff. I would say that this is where I'm going to be challenged because I think there are aspects of me that for sure old school. I am somebody that still aspires to be a writer, an author, or something. And quick story: I had an uncle that had techniques. Techniques are like the turntables or whatever, right? Like they're the premium turntables back in the day. I'm not sure if that's the case now. And he used to have a lot of records and everything. And I grew to become a fan of like, hey, I wanted the DJ, right? Like that's one of the gifts. I was telling my wife like, yo, you got to get me a set of turntables, and she's still looking at me crazy. But then there have been people that are just like they have like the miniature version that is not records, it's CDs, or now it's digitized. And I felt like, man, like that's so like not a part of the way in which I wanted to do it. But I've seen people that have embraced it and have done really well with the outcome of being able to control the space. And so I'm wondering if this is going to have to be one of the things where I let go, but still within everything, into the essence. I do believe that the personal statement, the college essay, needs to come from the student. And similar, like we talked about this last year, right? Like it is hard for me to respect the rapper
mm-hmm.
somebody's ghostwriting for, right?
Right,
Like, and it's not even another person. Like you're getting a whole computer.
right.
It's problematic in a bunch of different ways. And so I think that I rather the authentic
I
way of
rather
doing it.
authentic voice.
And but even thinking about this, right? Like if they
I
don't
want to
develop
hear. I
those
want to hear from
skills,
you.
right. If they don't develop the skills, they're going to be less reluctant to working on these skills, which are still needed to be able to, ascend to different aspects of,
And that's
career
that's
ladders.
the other part. That's the other
Correct.
part is like it might be easy now, but your life will always perpetually be hard because you didn't learn the skill of actually writing, of actually struggling with something, struggling to come up with the next sentence, right? Like those things help you to become a better writer. And if you're like bypassing it, like you don't have the skills and you're bypassing it and using technology, you never build those skills, but those skills are still going to be required for you from you at the workplace.
There you go. Right. Like it's beyond just the writing ability. It's the critical thinking ability. It is, the what's been the buzzword term for years now, grit, like persevering. And and also like just the boost in your ego and your pride and self assurance that you receive from being able to accomplish something that you're proud of and submitting to it, and it also is
Yeah.
contributing to your success. It's hard to replicate that, knowing that like you went the complete easy route.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. um there's something else that you said you experienced last, because I do want to talk about one other thing that I experienced.
Oh, and I think yeah. So, I was able to attend the state of our schools
Hmm.
with the mayor and the chancellor. They were just talking about the state of education as it is now. There were some things that I'm really, really, really excited about.
Hmm.
For one thing, the chancellor talked about building literacy skills for students, which has been something that has come up in conversation numerous times. If you're on social media and you're like, following teachers and practitioners in the field, you see that a lot of people are complaining about, students not being on grade level
Yeah.
of anything, but specifically reading, which reading is the gateway to all the other subjects, right? So he talked about, their initiatives that they have, that everybody is reading and reading on or beyond grade level. So I thought that was dope. The other thing that he talked about is that they are working on creating online classes for students, so they have the opportunity of going to school online. I know, like, when school returned back to in person, there was a lot of complaints from families, because a lot of families were expressing, my child has never done this well, right? This online situation, they're able to focus, right? Like, they don't have people in their ear, they're not afraid to do anything, right? Like, they are really doing what they need to do, and like they wanted to see more of that, which I think is dope. So now they're implementing it. The other part is that with that, if kids do that program, they have the opportunity of graduating earlier if they want to. I was like, okay, right? If they want to
Can't beat
graduate in 3 years and they do the work, they can graduate in 3 years.
can't beat that.
I said, that's wonderful, because, like, who's to say who we don't have to be in school for 4 years. We have the option of doing it earlier, but it will be easier to do it online versus, like, commuting and all that stuff. The time that you're wasting doing that, you could be doing it online and finishing up early. And I thought that was dope. I thought that was dope.
So, well, I do have a question, and I think sometimes I may reference sports analogies. Sometimes in sports, people may say that somebody that left college to go to the pros early needed that extra year to develop, to mature, to go through certain situations, right? Like, I'm wondering if that might be the same thing as well. Like, imagine a student is 16 and graduated early, right?
Um,
Like, do
they
they
can get those skills other places. They can get those skills other places, right? If they're doing like a work based program, maybe like for that year, they're doing like a certificate program, and then going off to college, or whatever have you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, as long as we are giving them additional opportunities to grow, right? Like, because academics is one thing. And I think, yes, we should place some emphasis on the academics, but we still need work skills. We still need to know how to do the thing, right? And so, like, them having time to do that, they're still building relationships with people, right? They're still becoming social beings. They're still being able to do all those things. And probably even being able to get paid for it, or have certifications that can help them get more money as they go along. I think that, to me, I don't know, man. I
I,
don't know.
that's real, and I think it's going to tie into something I'm going to talk about right now. I
Wait,
have a
I
student.
wasn't done.
Oh,
He
oh,
got one more thing.
talk to me.
Last thing. Okay. So, the chancellor talked about his Bold Futures initiative, which I think is another thing. I think when he became chancellor, the stuff that we saw happening, I'm going to get the name wrong, Office of Post Secondary Pathways
Hmm.
or Student Pathways.
One
Um,
of those.
they had shared some stuff that the chancellor was doing around helping students to get money, right? Like, we go into school, we doing all these things so that we can increase our financial capacity. And so his Bold Futures initiative says
Mm.
that by 2030, every single one of our students in New York City public schools will leave us with a concrete plan for a rewarding life path. And I'm so on board for that. I'm so for it.
So we need to investigate that further, because I would want to see, just like how innovative this thought is, and what does the rollout look like. There are times, and this is not me being critical. I'm just hoping that if there's a plan in place that is supported, so that the 2030 can come to fruition. If 2030 is like the goal of what needs to happen versus it being like, let's scrap this, let's do something else in 2 years from now just because.
Yeah,
So I
I
would,
mean, with that, the thing about it is the hard part is it depends on who's mayor, right? Because who's mayor determines who's chancellor, right? And so um this can go through if people continue the work. But what we've seen in the past is that new chancellors bring new goals, new things, right? And so, like, you started the work, and then somebody comes in and has a whole different goal for how education should go, and then we scrap it and we start over from scratch. So, hopefully, this is something that can transcend whoever the next mayor, the next chancellor is, and can continue to like keep going. But prefacing it by saying like I don't think it's usually the person necessarily like scrapping the idea. It's
yeah,
like the state of affairs and how we get the new person, right? I got to make a name for myself now, right? Scrap all
true.
that other stuff. I got to put my
Yeah,
name on this. So we'll
yeah,
see.
that part is real, and I think that I definitely empathize with that right in this moment. I can see how it'll play a role. So we have that. Last week, in us dividing and conquering, I made sure that there was an opportunity for me to share some things with you because you wasn't present or able to be at the NACAC conference in Baltimore.
Next year I'm
Um,
going. I'm Los Angeles. Here I come.
Los
That's what's gonna
Angeles,
be
here
here
you
next
come.
year.
I
Listen, you
want
hear
that.
me, Daitwan David?
I
Los
want that for
Angeles,
you.
here we come.
I want that for you.
For us.
Overall, for us, for us, for us.
But continue.
Overall, the conference was super dope, super amazing.
It looked like them. All the
Because
pictures look so amazing.
I was able to connect with a lot of people and be present in the space to enjoy the sessions. Also had a chance to lead a session. So shout outs to my
What was the session? Tell the people.
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. So shout outs to Laura Myers and Kristen Harris. Laura Myers from CUNY K-16, Kristen Harris from New York City Public Schools. And so it was us being able to kind of talk about the union of those two large institutions in New York City and the birth of College Bridge for all, College and Career Bridge for all, and being able to kind of do a case study talking about the model of near peer mentorship and how it really affects change in a
Mm-hmm.
large way in our community, how it increases matriculation rates and students actually making it to and through their first 21 days of school. Being able to kind of talk about the benefits of that to young professionals that are entering the field that may have thought they wanted to do one thing but got into a service oriented industry and realized like, hey, this is the way in which I wanted to grow.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so and also talked about like what was needed for this to happen in terms of the partnership, the things that were shared, the commitments to each other, and it was inspiring because we had a great turnout and we had people. We did a turn and talk, and people were thinking about ways that they can collaborate or actually build programs for themselves in their own cities. So that part was it was you can't beat
The
that,
work
right?
works.
Yeah, the work works, right? We have a model that works, and we are at a huge scale. So for some of the people, we're just like, hey, how can we downscale this to work for us? So that was amazing. Tied to what you were talking about, I want to talk about this more on one of our future episodes because I have some research to do. But Governor Westmore was one of, I don't know if we're considering that panel a keynote speaker with the Secretary of Education, one other person that was moderating. He talked about something, and I was like, "Hey, we got to explore this concept because it's so dope." I want to get this right because I took notes. Let me just make sure I got
I
my
know you
notes
and your notes.
for sure. So one of the things that he said is that Maryland is the first state that allows students after they graduate to do a service year. So that's service to the state for 1 year after they graduate. It's a year of experiential learning. They will allow for a financial cushion for a living wage. So they're getting a living wage. And once they're done with the program, they get a $6,000 stipend and a financial incentive. They can use that for various things and possibly to even apply for college. Now, they're getting a service year. So it's sort of like it seems like it'll be like a gap year program in a
Like
sense.
almost like AmeriCorps.
Yeah, almost like AmeriCorps, right?
Hmm.
And so and it's being, I think, supported by the state, right? Like, and so I really want to see what is becoming of this, what this looks like, what are the benefits, what are some of the, sort of like the road bumps that they're looking at, because I think there are some of our young people, as evidenced by, this is anecdotal with Bridge. Like some of the young people that we're working with may benefit from being able to do something of service to and learning and refining their skills. This is essentially what the gap year program model is for, right? Let me learn some more. Let me refine my skills. Let me get my clarity on what it is that I want to do, rather than just going to college, but also not going to college and not having anything productive to do. So I was super impressed by that. So I want to make sure we explore that on one of our
I
future
like that,
episodes.
and I would love to see like what comes of it, and like yeah, I'm looking forward to see like the rollout and
I
like
want
hear
to.
more about how everything goes, because I think that's really positive, honestly. Wow.
Yeah, that's
Okay, keep
amazing.
going, keep going. Tell
So
me more.
that's
Tell me
that's
more. Tell
that's
me
one
more.
more thing. So let's get to just there's so many things to kind of sum up. There was some really dope sessions that I went to. The main things that we'll talk about now, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff at some of our other episodes. The main thing is for you, there was an expo of vendors, and I really would have loved to have seen you there promoting, on track. Um, that felt like Comic Con, like a health convention. Like it was just like it was overwhelming the amount of tech. There are so many things that people are doing to try to, hopefully make the college process easier. Choosing college, doing the access stuff, doing the success stuff, finding scholarships. There were so many things that were there. There are things that probably can be critiqued, but it was a lot. So I think in those spaces where people need to leverage technology, there was probably something there for everyone. There was one thing that I saw, and I'll send you the photo later on, and this is definitely coinciding with a colleague of mine, more than a colleague, his family from college, who does works at an independent school as their college access, advisor. Um, there is going to be a shift with direct admissions, right? And we've talked about this in certain places where, well, we haven't talked about it, but we should. So direct admissions is something I've been used to in going to HBCU fairs, right? Students are
Yeah.
coming in with, credentials, maybe a personal statement, maybe their SAT score and their transcript, and they're getting an admissions rep on the spot that is saying, "Hey, I'm giving you a conditional offer. Follow up, and as long as you continue to meet these criteria and this is validated, you are going to get accepted to the school. Sometimes accepted with scholarships on the spot."
Mm-hmm.
There are now private schools that are non-HBCUs that are adopting that model and giving conditional offers. And they're saying more so like, hey, here you go, as long as you meet these criteria. So it's becoming more of a thing. There are pros and cons to this, because I think something that's happening is this with the conditional offers, there are becoming less opportunities for advocacy to happen from the counselor that is supporting the student, and I just want to be able to kind of explore that. But that's the one thing that is on my mind. Um, so that was like some of the major things that was happening. We had some people that we're all familiar with that were leading sessions, really dope sessions. On one, Shamik Robinson, like, right, really how to kind of engage and increase young Black males in this college
Shout out to
application
me.
process and the best practices, right? Like Shamik was on fire with that. Being able to connect and just fellowship with so many people was amazing. So overall, great conference. Um, and I definitely want to go back next year because it's on the West Coast. I haven't been over there in a while. And I think it's an opportunity for us to kind
California.
of see what's
Blue
up. Yeah,
sky.
there you go. There you go. Um, so, and kind of get to like the closeout and wrap up. One thing that I can say, I missed a session that was going to be really important. Um, if those of you that do not know, I have two beautiful children. I have an 11-year-old, 18-year-old, um, who continues to give me a run for my money, and my son is something else. And so right now, I've taken on another job of helping to support what's the regular job of being a father, but supporting my daughter and trying to get to an elevated educational institution. So she's in the process with a special program. And in this program, there's a lot that we're doing. I'll tell you this, I'm going to be fully transparent with you, Amber, and in the audience. We've been trained on the right things to do. We have transferable skills to support this process. And there are times when I've been like, yo, I'm just a parent in this moment. This school costs how much? Y'all
Right.
are bugging.
Right.
And like I all my training just went out the door. And I was just like, yo, y'all are doing the most. And so I went to that moment and I was real in that moment, right? Like when I'm seeing the cost of some of these schools that we're applying to, I'm like, y'all are crazy. I know as a practitioner that it has to be more so like first, hey, let's not be too presumptuous. Let's get in. Let's not reject these schools until we get a financial aid package if that is available. And let's really kind of explore the opportunity because even the experience of going through the opportunity for us with the support is going to be helpful because there's things that she's going to learn about herself that are solid and things that need to be improved upon. But I empathize with a lot of parents in this moment, like I did
Yeah.
before, but now this is
Yeah.
real because
Yeah.
they need taxes in a couple of weeks. They need a bunch of things.
Mhm.
And it's just a quick turnaround time. And so I'm just like, man, what more do we need to do for parents,
Yes.
right? Like to
Yes.
help and those that are like engaged, but also those that are just like, yo, this is too much. I can't do it. Like I'm
Yeah.
trained
And
in
like
this
how
field.
many more people if they had the support would be more engaged,
Yeah.
right? Like for me, like the one thing that I'm trying to do with my work, I want the parent to be the hero, right? I don't want the parent to feel like I have to give my process away, right? Like that's time that you can bond with your child, you can build with your child, right? Because like this is a whole process, right? And
Yeah.
so a lot of times they give it away to somebody else, and like you know, you kind of have a missed opportunity to really like build something special with your kid because maybe you're frustrated by the process, right? Like, or you're frustrated with how your kid is doing or not doing things that they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to be doing it, right? Like, there's so many different other things that come to play that can destroy that. So I like that you said that, and my wheels are turning now. My wheels are turning.
So I think we need to do a special parent episode,
Oh yeah.
bringing on parents in the process. My wheels are turning as well. I would say this: you hit the nail right on the head. As people may or may not know, for the past couple of years, I've been on a serious grind, limited capacity, tried to make sure that my presence was felt at the home. But I'm now currently making changes so that my presence can be more prominent. Last year, she's a sixth grader now. She is at her new middle school for the time being. And we have gone through literally the process that I've done with my students. I adapted it for us last year. We have a tracking document that kind of track notes and what we like and what we don't like. And everybody has their own role to say what they want. Right? Even her, like she has to have a say of what, based on these particular factors, how you rate in this school. And we were able to like really connect and help her to elevate her understanding, but also step back and be like, hey, she really feels like this about this school, and you know what, she's right. And so that was that bonding piece, ability to kind of like understand that this is going to model on what we're doing this upcoming year, but also what we're going to do if we have to apply to high school and then college. And now we would have already built in a system. Now she would understand autonomy. Now we can trust each other more on perspectives, right? And it was a
Mm-hmm.
great bonding moment, right? For us to be like, at the same time, walking into school and be like, nah, this ain't it. And at
Right.
the same time, like we understand, like this is not it. And then, just not wasting time, right? So that alignment was great. Um, this is our first Diary of a Post Secondary Practitioner. I'm super excited that we're adding this element. What is something that you want the people to leave this episode with?
I one we want you to like talk to us. Tell us in the chat, right? Like, what do you think about what we're talking about? What are you guys going through? I know the school year just started.
For sure.
How is your school year going so far, right? How is you know things progressing with you know the college process or supporting your kids and figuring out what's next for them? Let us know. Like, are we spot on? Are we bugging for feeling the way we feel about certain things? Let us know in the comments. Like, the whole point of this section is for us to build community. We want to feel our people. So yeah, just let us know what you think. What are your thoughts about what we talked about regarding all the things, right? The AI, the new initiatives from the chancellor. Like, what do you like? What do you don't like? We want to know all of it. So that's really the goal of this section of our show.
So we have two episodes dropping next week that we want y'all to check out. Um, So please make sure you're following us on OTWAMP on IG, on track with all my people. One other thing to kind of note is that we want to make sure that y'all, like you said, engage with us. I'm curious for everybody in the audience. Please, at this point in time, put this in the chat. We both talked about things that started with us very young, that never left us. We maybe have dabbled with it again, but then we realized, like, hey, that was a seed that grew. It never left. I have the question of what is one thing that started when your childhood or earlier on that you have continued to pursue or is still lingering for you? I want to know what those things are and how are they servicing you. Because I know there's a connection and correlation with the things that manifest with us deeply before the outside world starts to impact it. And I want to make sure that we get a chance to kind of talk about what that looks like so we can motivate some people. So here we are. I am Daitwan David, A.K.A. Dr. Change, and I'm here with
Amber Peters, A.K.A. Ms. P.
and we are out. Looking forward to seeing y'all 2023. Shout out to y'all. Peace.
See you on the next one.